That day, in the capital of the Grandana's Federation of Beastmen, Mainslia, the mansion of the cat tribe chieftain, a lavish long banquet was laid out to welcome the human guests. Alto joyfully raised his glass. "Thank you for saving my daughter, please enjoy the meal to your heart's content." Midu also happily thanked them. Rina looked at the food with some discomfort. "What kind of food is this?" "Insects," Rin replied with a chuckle. "I don't know either." Kai picked up the bug, broke it in half, and inside the hard shell was the rich, fatty meat. Then he put it in his mouth and ate it with relish. Over here, Mer was happily eating fruit, his face full of enjoyment. The outgoing Narumi raised his glass with the beastmen, causing them to stand up and cheer. "Drink more, your alcohol tolerance is so good, brother," he replied. "Me, then let's have another drink." Xian was also eating and drinking but did not forget her duty. She turned to her father and urged, "Dad, get to the main point, please." Alto raised his hand to get attention, then spoke up. "The matter is that we must make a decision about future policies." Those sitting below fell silent to listen. Alto continued. "According to what my daughter said, demons have infiltrated the Federation, and furthermore, they are in the capital, which means they have gained a significant amount of internal information." Sheena followed up, "If not, how could they have known my location at that time? I was completely ambushed." The scarred cat-faced man said, "If it were on the border, I could understand, but the security forces in the capital are quite strict." The blue-robed man agreed. "He's right, if the demons have infiltrated the capital, then we should have discovered them by now." Hearing those words, Sheena was a little unhappy and slightly frowned. Seeing this, the scarred man quickly explained, "I don't mean it that way, princess, I don't doubt your words." Alto added to alleviate the tension, "As you said, we beastmen have very strong senses of smell, it's difficult for demons to infiltrate the city. And yet we didn't notice their distinctive scent." That meant a voice rang out, "There's an insider," the declaration of the cat leader, and that sound made the banquet suddenly quiet. Everyone was looking in one direction. Kai, while drinking, said, "Someone is protecting the demons. If that person is providing them with important information and at the same time concealing their traces, that is the only explanation for the current situation." The cat people reacted. "How can you think of such a bizarre thing?" One of them stood up and fiercely said, "Don't talk nonsense, are you suspecting us?" Alto immediately shouted, "Calm down, we are only speculating about the possibilities." Then he apologized. With his face downcast, Alto continued, "I don't want to suspect my own people either, but even though I've tried very hard to search far and wide, I can't find a trace of the girl." At that time, he and his people searched during the night. To be honest, at that time, he had a very bad feeling. Surely someone was controlling the information source. Heinrich warned that if the information network was being manipulated, it would be very dangerous because the spy could be someone from a high-ranking class. Rin worriedly suggested, "Is it possible that what we discussed in that meeting was leaked?" Narumi added, "So, is it possible that one of the clan leaders is a traitor?" Alto immediately denied, "I don't think so, the clan leaders are the people who will discuss and advise on the future of the Federation. I don't want to cause mutual suspicion with only the limited information we have." The pink-haired cat person agreed, "You're right, sir, that worries me too." Alto turned to remind his daughter, Xian, "During this time, don't leave the mansion." The girl looked unhappy and said, "I just came back." He worriedly replied, "If you are kidnapped again, we will lose everything." Midu cut in and asked, "By the way, how is the discussion about the alliance going?" The table fell silent for a moment. Alto scratched his head in confusion. "Regarding that, I'm sorry, I thought they would accept the offer positively." Sheena said, "The ones who agree are Edgar and Papa. If we can't change the minds of the other three, we will lose the advantage in the election." A sign of not being very promising. Midu worried, "No way." Alto decided, "We must continue to persuade them. I will ask you to come with us to persuade them in the next meeting. I'll count on you." Heinrich happily agreed. "Yes, of course." That night, at the mansion of the cat chief, Kai was standing there, looking down with many thoughts in his head. Sheena approached and asked, "What's wrong, can't you sleep?" Kai turned around and replied, "I have some thoughts. I want to gather more information, but I can't move freely in a foreign country." Sheena understood this. "Yes, with your body odor, you'll be discovered immediately." He nodded. As expected, the beastman's sense of smell is really sensitive. Kai continued, "Sheena, there's something I want to ask you." Recalling, during the meeting, Kai had used his eyes to gather information about Niels. Age 55, dog-human species, male, state of being brainwashed, second-level martial arts skills, first-level beast transformation. He paid special attention to the line state of being brainwashed. Sheena, hearing this, asked in surprise, "Brainwashed state?" Kai nodded, yes, my eyes allow me to see the state of anyone with the ability to assess, only the man named Niels has such a state. He added, usually, beastmen excel in their physical abilities and sharp senses. They can't use magic like humans or demon magic like demons, or even spells like elves. Kai's eyes were full of affirmation, this is definitely the work of demons. Sheena recalled, now that you mention it, I just remembered that what he said today was very strange, my thoughts have changed after living for this long. Niels always wanted to maintain a very good relationship with humans. She wrinkled her shoulders and asked, should I tell Papa? Kai immediately replied, with my abilities alone, we don't have enough evidence. I know he suspects a spy, but do you think that man is trustworthy? Sheena stepped onto the railing, if that's the case, then it's fine. She continued, sitting there, Papa always gives priority to people, and besides, you saved me, he will definitely trust you. Kai sighed in relief, I understand, then we will talk to him later. Suddenly, something from behind caught his attention. Alto's voice, you underestimate the hearing of beastmen too much. Kai turned and asked, so you heard everything, surely I can get straight to the point now, can't I? He smiled, I don't mind, after all, you are my benefactor. Alto further stated, moreover, I also have the feeling that Niels is acting very strangely. He raised his hand and clenched it tightly, I place my trust in you, I will support you wholeheartedly to establish an alliance between the two empires. In return, I want you to help us eradicate the demons that exist within the Federation. Kai agreed, from tomorrow, I will start gathering information related to the dogmen. I ask you and Midu to persuade the remaining tribal leaders to help me. Alto smiled, looking at him, understanding. The late night was quiet in the capital of the beastmen, the space was tranquil, with lights flickering in the large mansions. At a villa, the large gate with guards was quite strict. Niels was surprisingly kneeling there respectfully. In front of him was the high-ranking demon Bright, sitting on a chair and enjoying wine. He looked down and said, the situation is becoming more and more troublesome. His gaze went to Camila, just as I thought, more than half of the tribal chiefs have been tamed, and the control of the Federation is already in our hands. Our plan should have been perfect, capturing the princess to extort the leader of the Catmen. Bright slammed his hand down angrily, but I didn't expect the humans to save Alto's daughter. He cursed under his breath, Zaganda, you bastard, such an easy mission and you failed, it's a disgrace to the high-ranking demon lineage. Niels, kneeling below, spoke, but the humans are really thick-skinned. He frowned, they are the ones who proposed the alliance, which means I cannot agree to such a proposal. Bright smiled, you are right, Niels, they seem very desperate, we must stop them before they influence others in the Federation. Niels stood up and replied, but you also know, the humans are also our sworn enemies. The next morning, at the mansion of the leader of the Fishmen tribe, a large swimming pool for their tribesmen, the entire mansion was blue, representing water. A meeting was taking place between the supporters of the alliance and Max, the Fishmen chief. Max seemed quite firm, no matter what you say, my answer will not change. Midu tried, even so, can't you hear us out? His eyes were somewhat determined with the desire for the alliance. Seeing this, Max was also persuaded and agreed to listen, all right, I don't mind, go ahead, speak. Everyone seemed relieved and thanked him. Heinrich spoke as a representative, then let me explain the current situation of the Holy Kingdom. On the other side, the remaining group moved to the mansion of the Birdmen chief, but were stopped by the guards at the gate. The guard was harsh, don't you understand, let me relay the chief's request, she said there is no need to listen to your words. Narumi tried to persuade, but we are already here. The accompanying Catman wondered, what, there must be a request from Alto-sama about today's meeting. The guard still looked displeased, even if there is a request from the Catman chief, the answer remains the same, the chief does not want to meet you humans. Rin stood beside, thinking he could control this person with mind control. When the effect ends, he might realize he was being controlled, and eventually they will no longer trust us. Narumi turned and walked away, that's it then, we'll go back. Rin was startled and turned, but, he continued, in the worst case, we might be opposing the entire Federation, we don't want that to happen, this is not like when we faced Leonora. Rin, hearing this, followed, I understand. Kai was in his room, examining a sharp dagger, there was a knock on the door, and he invited them in. Xin opened the door and entered, Kai, just as you said. He turned and asked her what she had found out, the girl replied, today I went to the border of the Dogmen tribe, but the atmosphere was very strange. Kai listened intently and continued, it's clear they have a hostile attitude towards humans, as if someone has added fuel to the fire. She pondered, furthermore, the soldiers are also in a state of unrest, they might be planning to kill you and the others. Hearing this, Kai's eyes changed slightly, if that's the case, we can't just sit still, we need to gather all the important evidence to turn the situation around. Another night in the capital of the Beast Men. On the rooftops, Kai and Sheena were silently observing. He turned and said, "Let's investigate carefully," the princess warned, "Be careful, you can't underestimate the senses of the beastkin." Kai jumped down, replying, "I know." Beneath the strict guards, they moved gently on the rooftops. With the feet of an assassin, Kai walked lightly without making a sound. Soon, the two were inside the mansion. Sheena walked quickly, whispering, "The chieftain's room is definitely around here." A door opened ajar. Looking inside, she announced, "There's no one here, Neil-sama must be in his bedroom." Then Sheena entered, "But it's good anyway, if we can find evidence." She used her sensitive nose to sniff and smell, and realized that on the chair was the scent of those who had kidnapped me. Suddenly from outside, a voice called out, "Who's there?" Sheena was startled and looked at a huge question mark that appeared. It was Niels. He yelled, "Sheena, you little brat, even if you're Alto's daughter, do you think you won't be punished for daring to trespass here?" The princess worriedly stepped back a bit, saying, "Neilama, please come to your senses." Hearing this, he wondered, saying, "Please look straight at it." She tried to persuade, "You are being brainwashed by the demons, don't you realize there's something unusual?" Niels snapped, "What nonsense are you talking about? We'll talk later, now I will restrain you." Then he yelled, "Intruder! Restrain that girl." The soldiers outside heard this and rushed in, asking, "What's going on, Niels-sama?" Sheena quickly moved back, and then stepped on the windowsill, and then broke the glass and jumped out, looking extremely dangerous. The soldiers watched. "She's running," Niels ordered, "Don't let her escape, chase after her quickly." A moment later, a hand familiar with a glass of wine. Bright was thinking, "There's an intruder, but why?" He shook the glass of wine in his hand, wondering, "Have they discovered me?" Then he brought it up to drink. "All this time I've been moving very carefully, that's why I'm the only one who can infiltrate the capital." He drank it all at once, thinking, "I'm sure others will suspect that the demons have infiltrated the Federation after Sheena's incident, but I don't think they can deduce and suspect the dog tribe, but if someone discovers the brainwashing technique, that's another story." Bright smiled confidently, "However, that can't happen." He hadn't been happy for long when Kai appeared behind him with a dagger against his neck. By the time Bright realized, the sharp dagger had cut a sweet line, blood was flowing, but had the head fallen yet? Late at night, the moon was bright, the wind was cool, outside the mansion of the dog tribe. Niels stood there and sternly ordered to catch the intruders. Sheena had escaped through the window and was running quickly on the rooftops. She looked back with a bit of worry, only to see the guards searching. She wondered, where did Kai go? Did he find the demon? Next to her, a voice called out, "Sheena-sama." Rune was standing there with the soldiers, holding up a lamp to look at the princess. Rune's eyes were somewhat surprised. Sheena jumped down and asked, "Rune, why are you here?" Rune replied, "I'm waiting nearby under the orders of Alto-sama. He told me to prevent anything bad from happening to you, Sheena-sama." While they were talking, the dog tribe soldiers also chased after them. They were harsh. "The cat tribe, she's an intruder, we'll arrest her under the orders of Nielsama." Sheena replied, "They are right." Rune looked at her and asked, "What should we do, Sheena-sama?" The cat princess raised her hand and said, "If they come, don't kill, just fight them. Maybe they're also very confused, they don't really want to fight us." On this side, blood had started to pour from Bright's neck. But fortunately for him, he had jumped up and retreated. He looked at Kai and wondered, who is this guy? He immediately threw a dagger at Bright, not giving him a chance to turn around. The situation was too urgent to avoid. He had no choice but to raise his hand to take a knife to the hand. Bright slipped on the floor, trying to regain his balance. He grabbed the tree next to him, thinking that now there was no time to think, "I must regain my composure." Then he threw the potted plant at Kai with force. He used a blade to slash the pot in half, scattering the dirt. Then Bright hurriedly jumped out the window to escape. Kai quickly followed, saying, "I won't let you get away," and both jumped onto the roof, preparing for a dramatic chase. Bright looked back and thought, "I don't want to be discovered, this place will attract a lot of attention." He squinted, trying to contact his puppet. He connected mentally, trying to contact Niels. "Answer me, Niels, the humans are attacking me, help me," and the hesitant response of the dogman leader, "I'm sorry, Bree-sama, I really want to help you, but..." Despite his demands, "Come here quickly." Niels was facing something that made him change color. He replied, "It'll be very difficult if I come to you." The one who prevented him was Alto. He clasped his hands together, crackling, "It's been a while since we fought, Niels." Niels pointed at Alto, "Do you understand the power of your words? I can't forgive your daughter, this will be a war between the two tribes." Alto smiled, I won't let that happen, I will open your eyes, Niels. He continued to attack, focusing on the princess, you still don't understand what Sheena has done. Alto picked his ear and replied, really, I can feel an unpleasant aura emanating from you. Niels threw a punch and lunged forward, nonsense, it's sad that I have other things to deal with, I will crush you if you interfere in my affairs. Alto wasn't afraid to collide either. Immediately charged in to confront. The fists of the two chieftains were extremely powerful, the group of hero candidates were secretly observing, in the distance a pillar of light appeared, which was where the battle of the two chieftains took place. Narumi's eyes widened, it's starting, Rina asked immediately, is it okay if we don't interfere? Narumi brushed it off, it's okay, the more involved we are, the more difficulties we create during negotiations, I don't want the people in the Federation to see us causing a commotion. Rin hesitated and asked, could Shinju be? Narumi replied, he's probably hiding around and looking for the demons, that's why they seem so eager to cause all this commotion. Rin was still naive, so wouldn't it be better if we helped them? He shook his head, if we interfere, we'll only pull them down, and besides, we're not familiar with this place. Then the three decided to remain neutral, silently observing. Narumi looked down and realized, anyway, there's still a chance that someone will rush in, even though they don't know what's going on. Kai's footsteps still hadn't stopped. The chase with the demon was still ongoing. He observed and realized that he was running away to a more secret location, well, that's good. Bright on the other side was constantly bleeding, the wound was too deep, I can't move my arm freely, I don't know if I can defeat this kid in this situation. Two beast women were walking, seeing Bright, they exclaimed in fright, what is that? He shouted, those who have seen me will have to go to the other side of the world, and immediately attacked to kill the two of them. Kai was still relentlessly pursuing him, he wasn't stopping, I have to speed up. He looked at him and thought about enhancing his physical strength with magic. Focusing only on his legs, a stream of white mana began to appear under his feet. In a flash, his speed increased dramatically and he darted away, then ran past Bright. Looking at him with a deathly gaze, he was startled and turned, what? Kai slid the knife in his left hand, trying to stab him, Bright smiled. But what he received was a very strong kick to the chest, sending him flying to the wall. He looked at his legs. Blood sprayed from his mouth in pain, thinking, that knife was a pretense. The blow just now caused him to collide and fall to the ground. Thoughts appeared in his mind, no, I lost, even though I'm not a combat-oriented demon, I'm still at the top of the high-level demons. Bright looked at Kai's current appearance in amazement, so this is the hero candidate. He coughed up blood, trying to ask, how did you know my location? Kai didn't hide it at all, answering that my eyes have the ability to analyze the state of any object. Bright laughed, what a misfortune. I've met the strongest opponent at this moment, he's still thinking, I can still restore my plan, as long as I get rid of this kid, even if I lose, I still have a few cards to use. Kai realized that in his smile, he was plotting something. On this side, the soldiers of the two tribes are still clashing quite fiercely. The person wondered, Captain, why are we fighting? The answer is this is the chief's order, there is no place for unnecessary thoughts. Rune shouted, if you guys are also wondering, stop it, we have no intention of fighting either. Sheena asked, are you Nielsima's soldiers? You are so close to Nielsima, don't you think he has been acting very strangely lately? Hearing that made the dogmen's soldiers hesitate. The dog captain paused, his eyes a little worried. Sheena pointed and asked, it seems like you know something. The captain replied, it's true that lately I can't understand what Niels-sama is thinking, but our responsibility remains the same. The princess asked, even if Nielsima was brainwashed by the devil. The dogman reacted strongly, no way something like that. The captain turned around to remind, don't be fooled, we will still follow the chief's orders. Sheena realized, I see, it is impossible to persuade them, they are indeed excellent warriors. Rune stepped forward, put out his hand to stop the princess, you stay behind, Shinazuma, I will subdue them. A blue mana line sliced across, separating the two forces. A sand sword line split the ground with full force, the dog captain wondered what was happening. Then he turned and looked. Everyone looked up and realized it was a human, none other than Midu. He and another person jumped down from there. Edgar stepped forward and shouted, enough, both sides withdraw your swords. The one who stopped the soldiers on both sides from continuing to fight was Edgar, the werewolf leader. On this side Kai is analyzing Bright, a 48-year-old high-level demon, his skills are 4th level brainwashing demon magic, 4th level water element demon magic. Kai used the detailed assessment ability of the seeing through eye on him. Brainwashing demon magic details appear, brainwashing, a living creature has been targeted in advance, activated by wrapping both hands around the target's head. Knowing that, Kai was careful to guard against it. As long as he was careful with his brainwashing skills, there would be no threat, and it wouldn't be difficult to kill him. While concentrating, something appeared. A spear shot straight down where Kai was standing, making him quickly dodge. A group of demons appeared in front of him. Bright got up and laughed. "Thanks for coming, now my apprentices can join the battle." Kai replied, "So, the reason you ran into a place with few people is because you wanted to gather your teammates. The demons are very smug, it seems you can't escape now, the special forces of the demon kingdom can't just have me alone." Kai sighed, "Are you stupid?" Hearing that, he angrily asked again, "What did you say?" He looked at them and said, "Of course I know you are waiting for reinforcements, it will be very troublesome to find all of you, so it's best if I clean up all of you at once." Hearing him say that, the demons were a bit dumbfounded, confused. Bright roared, "You bastard, what can you do alone?" Then they executed their skills and took out their weapons. "Soon, you won't be able to speak so confidently anymore, we will beat you up because you dared to hurt Bright-sama." Bright still stared at Kai and thought, "What a fool, even though my subordinates are only mid-level demons, they are still elite warriors, their combat ability is only slightly inferior to me." They rushed in and told each other to do it, "Kill that human." The one standing there began to mumble, "Oh angels, blow them away." A blue vortex appeared with the wind element. The tornado tossed and swept the demons into the air. The rest on the ground looked up in panic. Reinforcements. Along with Kai's voice, "I didn't say I was alone. Above is Mare using magic." Kai calmly continued, "Because I still don't know the activation conditions for your brainwashing, I have prepared a good move just in case." Bright is still very confident. "Anyway, there are only two of you, it won't change anything." Mare looked at them and said, "Create small stones in large quantities." As soon as she finished speaking, floating stones immediately appeared. Then shot straight down towards the demons. Some of the leading demons, who hadn't had time to defend themselves, were hit and coughed up blood. One of them yelled, "You fool, we can just use demon magic to defend ourselves," but Kai quickly approached. He stabbed straight into its heart, shocking it. "While you guys are gathering mana in your hands to defend yourselves, you'll be very vulnerable to attacks from other directions." Kai pulled out his knife and fresh blood spurted out. Bright anxiously shouted at the soldiers, "You idiots, don't let your guard down, consider both of them as strong enemies like high-level demons." The remaining guys, upon hearing that, raised their weapons and attacked seriously. It used clone demon magic, then asked, "Do you know which one is real?" As soon as it finished speaking, it was hit with a knife straight in the forehead. The demon collapsed, only able to utter, "What, how did you know?" Kai calmly said, "It seems like you guys can't even share accurate information between different demon branches, even though you're an elite army." Another demon on the side, who had created a magic circle, yelled, "You dog." Then he launched a wind spear, shouting at the same time, "Die." But the spear was blown back by the wind. Mare above always intervened at crucial moments. She immediately summoned her weapon, "Oh angel, finish him." The demon, with its mouth open in fear, couldn't react in time. Sharp arrows created from wind pierced straight into him. Mare turned away, yawning and showing contempt, not letting it hit her eyes. Right now, Kai was facing the demon soldiers with the support of Mare above. Bright stood back, pushing his subordinates forward as a shield. He grimaced, clenching his teeth, thinking to himself, "They dare push me to this extent." At the same time, a sound came from afar, "What's going on? It seems like you're in trouble." "Huh?" Mare turned around, startled, and asked, "Huh, who is that?" Kai also turned his gaze upwards to see who the newcomer was. It was Camila along with her tribe members who had just flown in. Kai looked at her in surprise. "The tribe leader of the bird tribe, I didn't expect you to cooperate with those demons." She yelled, "That's right, because I absolutely despise you humans." Mare leaned down and asked Kai, "Is she also brainwashed?" He replied, "Based on my assessment ability, no, she's willingly cooperating with the demons." After connecting the information, Kai realized some problems. So, they had brainwashed the tribe leader of the dog tribe and currently, the bird tribe was cooperating with them. It was quite complicated. The dog tribe leader was brainwashed, the bird tribe leader was cooperating, the cat tribe leader's daughter was kidnapped but had been rescued, the wolf tribe leader was not involved, and the fish tribe leader was an idiot. They could make the cat tribe obey by taking Sheena hostage, and in the end, they would have a majority vote in the parliament. Remember, he had heard the demons say that the Federation would soon be under their control, and the higher-ups would also focus more on the war against humans, so that's what they meant. Bright spat out a mouthful of blood and said in a reproachful tone, "You guys are a bit late, aren't you?" Camila acted tough, "Even if you're a demon, you can't defeat these humans without us." Hearing that, he laughed coldly, knowing that he was indeed in trouble. "I'm not complaining now, help me finish them off. Camila, with her sharp claws pointing down, smiled, you have to make such a proposal, that's rare, so, they are very strong, alright, I'll help you. Kai clicked his tongue, thinking, there are about 30 elite bird people, so the whole tribe is cooperating with the demons. Mayor had now jumped down to the ground, standing next to him and asking, what now? Kai replied, we must defeat them. Camila ordered her tribe members to capture them, don't let the other tribes find out, don't waste any more time. As soon as she finished speaking, the bird tribe members charged down, preparing to attack the two of them. Scene shifted to another location, the furry fist of the cat tribe leader appeared. He attacked the dog tribe leader, but he blocked it with his hand. The two sides continuously exchanged techniques, the attacker and the defender, causing the surrounding ground to shatter. The battle of the two tribe leaders was indeed extraordinary, the aura they emitted shattered the glass panels on the side of the road. The fluctuation of spiritual energy created gentle winds that tilted the trees. Alto, while attacking, laughed loudly, very good, Niels. The dog tribe leader, still constantly defending, shouted and asked, what are you talking about? Niels punched Alto's body with a very strong blow. But he didn't feel any pain and instead, he smiled calmly, which greatly surprised Niels. Alto continued to laugh and delivered a hook punch right on Niels's side, he was very weak. Being hit hard, he was knocked back. Niels wondered what this feeling was. He raised his hand to wipe his mouth, and he thought to himself that his mind was reeling. Alto clenched his fists, it seems he was doubting himself, had he misunderstood something? Alto wondered if this was the end, as predicted, when he stalled for them, the only way to solve this problem was to defeat the brainwashing execute. Amidst the crescent moon's light, it would be a problem to leave Niels alone and allow the demons to deploy the power of the dog tribe. On the other side, Midou, standing behind Edgar, the werewolf chieftain, asked, is Neil being brainwashed by the demons? Sheena replied, yes, that's why we infiltrated Neil's mansion to find that demon. Midou immediately asked, so have we found him yet? The answer received was a shake of the head from the cat princess. She added, I don't know, but suddenly Kai disappeared. Midou pondered, so that's it, he's not here, meaning he's still fighting somewhere. Edgar seemed to have a headache, I can't keep up with these events, things are happening too fast, but we need to help your friend, who is fighting the demons. Runi called from above, even so. Sheena interrupted and asked urgently, Rune, what's wrong? She raised her hand to her chin and looked far away, announcing, I see a group of bird people flying north. Edgar seemed quite surprised, why are bird people flying so late at night? Realizing the abnormality, Midou immediately rushed towards it and shouted, let's go see, we might find some clues. Switching to the rooftop, where 3 people were sitting quietly observing. Rin wondered if it was okay for them to just stand and watch like this. Narumi thought that wasn't wrong either, there's a high possibility that they would cause a conflict with the residents here if they acted like that. Thinking, she immediately spoke up, hey Narumi-kun, I want to ask you something. Rin continued, your argument is based on asking Kun to defeat the demons, right? He nodded, you're right. Rin worriedly asked, what if he loses? Narumi hesitated and replied, I haven't thought that far yet, but will definitely be condemned if that happens. Rin turned to suggest, so we should do something, wouldn't that be better? No matter how trustworthy Shinju-kun is, he's not unbeatable. Rina spoke up confusedly, I understand your point, but we don't know his exact location. Rin saw the point, her eyes sinking, you're right. Then Rin clasped her hands in front of her chest as if praying and thought she knew. But I can't not be selfish, I want to become Shinju-kun's strength. Suddenly, a sound rang in her head, Kanzaki, right. Rin was startled and looked around in panic. Narumi saw this and asked, what's wrong, Kanzaki-san? Rin asked, where are you, Shinju-kun? Kai's voice rang again, I have to ask you that instead. Now I understand, so this is your new power, hearing Kai say that made Rin rethink. She wondered if this was the new divine guard power, she could clearly hear Shinju-kun's voice in her head, as if it was Rin's soul. Continuing to use her mind, she asked Kai, where are you? On this side, looking at Kai, he didn't seem to be doing well, covered in blood, he replied, I'm in the far north of the city, fighting the demons and bird people. Kai asked, you want to become my strength, right? Rin blushed in embarrassment, did you hear that? I didn't say it so loud. On this side, Kai was continuously killing the bird people and saying to Rin, come here quickly Kanzaki, I need your strength, hearing Kai's words. Rin's eyes brightened and fluttered. Narumi worriedly asked, who are you talking to? Rina frowned, are you crazy? Rin replied, I'm talking to Shinju-kun through my new ability. Hearing that, her 2 friends were a little surprised. Rin immediately stood up and said, anyway, I already know his location, let's hurry up, let's go help Shinju-kun. Switching back to the battle on this side, Mare was facing a large number of extremely ferocious bird people. They immediately received the order to attack, simultaneously rushing down at a very fast speed. At the same time, Mare raised her magic staff, a little worried, shouted loudly, "Spirits, don't let them get close to us." As soon as she finished speaking, a gust of wind immediately blew upwards, preventing their advance. Not stopping, Mare planted her magic staff, light radiated, pieces of earth and stone floated up, she summoned earth spirits. Then shouted loudly, ordering them to be shot down. A series of earth spirits flew straight towards the crowd of bird people, causing them to be hit. They cried out, "Quack." Some behind them cursed unhappily, "Damn it, at this rate we can't get close." Another turned and shouted loudly, "What are those archers doing?" The team of bird people holding bows flying there received the order, "I know, shoot them down again." As soon as they let go, a series of sharp projectiles aimed straight at Mare. She raised her magic wand to the sky, and this time it emitted green mana. Mare summoned a wind spirit, creating a whirlwind that blew away the arrows. The bird people were very annoyed by this. "Damn it, what to do now? At this rate we can't do anything." Another guy just waved it away like that. He added, "The elf's magic uses the power of souls, in the future it won't be able to use these powers anymore." Mare was a little worried, thinking to herself, "I've been caught by their weakness, the spirit is nearing its limit, I need to deal with them with an element other than wind." The bird person frowned, looking down thoughtfully, "Now this girl is just stalling for time, I need to end everything before other tribes notice." Switching scenes to the melee on the ground, a demon soldier was stabbed in a fatal wound right in the heart, preventing him from even groaning. The guy below saw this and looked up to call out Gustav. He saw Kai there just pulling a dagger out of his comrade's chest. Then in a flash he was down below, delivering the next blow in true assassin style. Suddenly from behind two other demon soldiers jumped up preparing to attack. They shouted, "You dog, this is the end for you." At the same time, the demon soldier created a magic circle in front of him to block an incoming attack. On Kai's side it was similar, but he quickly jumped up to dodge the attack. The demon soldiers below looked up with a bit of bewilderment. Camilla, the chieftain of the bird tribe, shouted a warning to the demon soldiers, "Don't move anymore." At the same time she released sharp feathers from her wings. Kai stood there calmly, offering up the gamut herb and deflecting the feathers. However, the quantity was too great. A strand of hair struck his wrist, causing blood to seep out and soak his shirt. Kai quickly jumped to another side. The sound of the battle screams echoed continuously from afar. He thought to himself, "I'm worried about Mare, because we're separated now." While he was distracted, Bry appeared behind him, placing his dark hand on Kai's head. He sensed something unusual. Immediately using the lightning shock. Before he could do anything to his opponent, he was paralyzed by Kai's lightning. Making himself a little confused, he frowned and wondered, "Lightning element magic, huh?" A demon soldier stepped in front of him, swinging his sword down, simultaneously shouting, "Die." Kai dodged to the side and then slashed across his stomach. The sword in the demon soldier's hand, following through, slashed straight into Bry, who was paralyzed behind Kai. He dodged the deadly blow and defeated the demon soldier, and made the demon soldier himself slash their leader. It was truly killing two birds with one stone. Kai used a deadly gaze to glance back, looked and thought, he intends to use mind control magic. I have no way to deal with it, so I must be very careful. Suddenly from afar a familiar voice called out, "Shinju-kun." It was none other than Rin. She was running and panting from exhaustion. Kai turned to look at her and called, "Kanzaki, you came at the right time." Rina stood there in amazement. "It's a demon." Narumi also exclaimed in astonishment, "The situation is terrible." Saying that, the two immediately shouted, "We will support you." Saying that, they immediately executed their skills. The demon soldiers used magic circles to defend and warned each other, "Reinforcements, be careful, they are hero candidates." Kai turned to the others and said, "I'll take care of the bird tribe chief and the high-level demons, and I trust you guys with the low-level ones." Narumi clenched his fist in agreement. Rina asked further, "So does that mean we can consider those bird people as enemies?" Kai nodded and said, "Rina can use fire to burn them." Rin asked a little worried, "Shinju-kun, are you still fighting alone?" He used a determined gaze, recalling the past and said to Rin, "The scenario is similar to the battle against Leonora at that time. If so, use your domination magic on me." They are using magic to brainwash their enemies. She immediately raised her hand in response, "I understand." Her whole body radiated pink mana and then used the domination skill. The energy passed to Kai. He was also surrounded by a light pink layer. He said confidently, "With this I have eliminated my fatal weakness." Camilla, hearing this, asked in a little amazement, "Are you guys looking down on us?" Bry said from below to remind, Camila, don't let your guard down, or you'll lose your life now. Kai's deadly gaze looked at them and said, my mistake, but I'll end everything quickly. His whole body was now emanating a heavy killing intent, both hands clenched the daggers tightly. This gaze and aura made Camila and Bright both a little shocked, a hint of fear was briefly revealed. Switching the scene to Mayer's side, she was standing there facing the bird people above. Some of the bird people had been defeated. The bird people were stunned when they heard the echoing voice, bird people, what are you doing? Mayer also heard it, quickly turned around and looked behind. It was Midu leading Edgar, the wolf leader, along with Sheena and Rune. Edgar raised his hand to question, are they guests of the cat tribe, aren't they? I demand an explanation. The bird people were anxious and buzzing, the wolf tribe leader, they came so fast, what do we do now? The leader looked over and reminded them, calm down, we will still follow Camila's orders. The bird soldiers didn't say anything more. Then they immediately obeyed, raising their bows towards the newcomers. They shouted, kill all the witnesses, even the leader of the wolf tribe. Edgar was taken aback, what are they saying? Midu added, it seems they don't want to talk. Mayer shouted to them, listen up, the bird people are cooperating with the demons. Everyone was very surprised by this information. She pointed towards the alley in front of them and said, the demons are fighting with Kai over there. Xa propped up his hand and looked to the side, so even the bird people. Edgar turned and said, if that's the situation, then it's terrible. Midu, you go over there, but he refused. Midu said to the wolf leader, my friends are going to Shinju, I'll stay here to help Mayor-san. Edgar grabbed the sword hanging on his hip and prepared to draw it. I understand, I didn't expect the demons to have such a great influence. He looked up at the bird people, these soldiers are just taking orders from their chief, if possible, I don't want to kill them. Edgar was startled when he heard Midu's voice, he smiled and said, I understand. That's my specialty. A bright red light flared up in Kai's eyes like 2 stars of blood. Crimson threads of spirit energy surged from his pupils when facing the enemies. A sigh of weariness escaped from Kai's lips. He said in a low voice to them, my bad, I intended to end this quickly. The spirit energy from his eyes was like thin bones and blood, his hands tightly gripping the sharp mace, ready to attack at any moment. Astonishment was clearly etched on Brighton and Camilla's faces as they witnessed this terrifying appearance of his. Camilla, with her large wings and fiery red feathers, hovered high above, while Bry stood below, blood streaming down his chest. He gritted his teeth in frustration, his confusion causing him to utter softly, that. Not knowing what was happening, Camilla's eyes trembled violently. She realized her vision had changed. Camilla muttered furiously, its form is being distorted. Through Camilla's eyes at this moment, Kai's image had become distorted, his face was covered by a twisted light. Kai's eyes looked straight at her with terrifying composure. Kai, as fast as lightning, took advantage of Bright's disorientation, rushed towards him, and pressed the sharp blade of a knife to his arm. A deep gash caused fresh red blood to splatter. After attacking, Kai immediately jumped back as if a shadow disappearing and reappearing. Bry was astonished, looking at the bloody wound that Kai had inflicted on his arm, wondering, I can't react to its movements, damn it, what's wrong with my eyes? Camilla, flying above, quickly realized Kai's distracting technique. She shouted a warning to Bright, don't look into its eyes, Bright, it's probably using illusion magic. Kai, hearing these words, thought to himself, she realized it quickly. Kai took some time to review the information panel of his stats, name, Shinju Kai, age, 17, gender, male, attack, B, defense, A, agility, S, strength, B, magic, C, current status, normal, skills, appraisal guardian level 4, weak point detection guardian level 2, long-range vision guardian level 2, mimicry guardian level 2, illusion guardian level 1, assassination skill level 5, dagger skill level 5, throwing skill level, stealth level. Kai's eyes again turned the color of blood. This was a sign that he had activated a new skill. Illusion Guardian is a new skill I have after defeating Wimberg. This is a skill that creates illusions for living beings as a target. The activation condition is that the target must make eye contact. Previously, when fighting monsters, Kai had the opportunity to practice Illusion Guardian. I have practiced using it to fight against monsters. This is a very powerful weapon at close range. Camilla flapped her wings strongly above, a disgusted expression and scolding, what a troublesome ability. The sapphire pupils in Bright's deep black eyes slowly observed Kai. In his mind, he began to consider his next attack. I must face it directly, but I must not look at anything from its neck up. He immediately followed that strategy, and then a triumphant smile appeared on Bry's lips. He thought happily, good, I no longer see the illusions. Kai, standing below, seemed to also notice that Bry had found a way to break his illusion technique. so Kai did not hesitate, took his daggers, and threw them forward. It's no longer looking into my eyes, this is exactly the simplest method. Bright on the other side didn't stand still and wait to die, but he unexpectedly took the initiative to fly up. To approach Kai directly, he came close, whispering in Kai's ear with a tone of contempt, "You think you can do that?" However, he didn't get to be pleased for long. Kai had glided past him. Bright was shocked by this suspicious movement of his. He turned his head to look back. But as soon as he turned his head, Kai's sharp dagger slashed a long line across his face. The fresh, pungent blood spread throughout the space. Bright's face was now drenched in dark red blood. Suffering a fatal wound caused him to stagger, his head tilted back, and in pain, he couldn't speak. Impossible. Some of his blood splattered onto his face. Kai didn't bother looking at Bright's struggling state of pain and said, "Idiot, the opponent's eyes give you a lot of information in battle. You are not someone who can keep up with my speed. If you lose that stream of information, you won't even be able to fight." Then, Kai was silent for a long time, not hearing a response from Bright. He sneered and continued, "Well, it seems you can't hear me anymore." Kai had guessed what had happened to Bright after his brutal slash. At this moment, he had fallen to the ground, lying in a pool of blood with his breath gone. Camilla in the air saw this scene. She widened her eyes, ground her teeth, and cursed, "This guy is really useless." Kai stood below, slowly raising his head. He had his next target after Bright. Now it was her turn. Camilla shouted excitedly, trying to hide her fear with tough words, "I've been through a lot of your human tricks, don't underestimate me." Then, her wings flapped strongly, creating a whirlwind. Camilla slowly flew down with her large claws, aiming straight at Kai. But she was one step slower than Kai. He had managed to jump to the side in time, avoiding her sharp claws. A miss made Camilla angry. Hundreds of blade-like feathers burst from her sturdy plumage, tearing through the air and hurtling towards Kai. Kai's body retreated, graceful and fluid, as his two hands held weapons, blocking each feather Camilla launched. Camilla floated, watching Kai, easily avoiding her attacks. Around them, corpses lay scattered like a battlefield. Kai activated the illusion once more, with crimson energy flowing from his eyes. Kai was cautious, knowing it was difficult that she fought without looking into his eyes and floated in the air, but she adapted precisely. Camilla floated and smiled smugly at him. "I am not like you, I can fight without relying on sight. After all, we beast folk have incredibly sensitive five senses." Kai wasn't provoked by her words. Kai calmly tilted his head and asked, "But what are you going to do now? You can't just keep flying around to fight me, can you?" He glanced at the chaotic scene behind him and softly continued, "By the way, the longer this fight lasts, the worse your situation becomes." At this moment, Camilla's comrades were all being controlled by Kai's teammates. The situation seemed quite unfavorable for her. Narumi, Rin, were all using their own spiritual energy, desperately controlling and taking down Camilla's comrades. Hearing Kai's words, she observed the situation on the other side. Camilla trembled with rage, her face contorted as she gritted her teeth and said, "You humans, not just one, but you have interfered in my affairs twice now." Kai didn't respond, he just stared at her intently and challengingly. Camilla lost control, her entire body erupting with power. Her furious appearance resembled an erupting volcano. She raised her head and yelled, "I will kill you." Then Camilla charged forward with a new move, complete transformation. Kai carefully observed her, quickly analyzing in his mind, transformation, this is a special skill that only beast folk can use, allowing them to unleash the beast within their body. He looked at Camilla, who had now completed her transformation into a large bird with wide wings and sharp claws. His mind continuously analyzed that a complete transformation would bring beast folk explosive power, but they would lose their awareness. Camilla, in the form of a bird, raised her plumage, her sharp beak opened wide, and she tilted her neck towards the sky, letting out a piercing shriek as if wanting to tear apart the entire space. Immediately, it soared into the air, its body darting as quickly as a knife, appearing and disappearing, constantly changing directions unexpectedly. In a blink of an eye, it completely vanished from sight, leaving only the echo of the whistling wind and a chilling sensation on the back. Kai still held his weapon cautiously, looking at her movements in the sky and feeling in his heart that she was fast. Kai took the opportunity to stop activating the illusionary guardian and instead activated another skill to neutralize illusions, activating the snake-like vision. Kai's eyes widened. Capturing all the movements of the large bird in his eyes, its lightning-fast speed became slower due to his far vision. This helped Kai calculate the trajectory to avoid its attacks. Thus, Kai and Camilla seemed to be involved in a chase, appearing and disappearing in the air. Camilla gradually lost patience with this chase, her hooked beak constantly pecked at the air, emitting hoarse, frantic sounds, full of menace. She flapped her large wings, launching countless sharp feather-like projectiles, infused with dark spiritual energy, towards Kai. He rushed into the rain of projectiles, calmly using his daggers to block each of Camilla's feather-like projectiles. In his mind, he had realized her weakness. The time for a complete transformation wasn't long. Looking at Camilla in the form of a giant raptor, he knew that if she used it in a prolonged battle, she would be dominated by her beastly instincts and lose herself. The powerful movements of the beast caused the entire space to violently shake. Kai glanced with a hint of danger, thinking, but in case she is willing to give up everything, I might be depleted of energy and unable to use far vision anymore. Without hesitation, Kai quickly decided to act. In that case, I need to finish this quickly. His eyes flashed red, activating the weakness detection. Kai's gaze swept across the entire body of the ferocious beast. The beast's originally fast movements slowed down in his vision. Kai knew exactly what he should do at this moment, just as predicted. This is the best way, right? There is a risk it will not trigger properly. Kai closed his eyes slightly, as if he had calculated it beforehand, and thought to himself, if I can't use this skill at the last moment, everything will be meaningless. Then he raised his head and shouted, "Oh lightning, pierce my enemy, lightning strike." Immediately, fierce bolts of lightning from somewhere struck the giant body of the raptor, causing it to convulse. Its eyes widened, agitated by this torment. Kai carefully observed its movements. Under the pain of the lightning strikes, the red glowing body of the beast shook in the air, and its blood scattered throughout the space. Then, as if drained of strength, the weakened bird fell straight to the ground. Its large body hit the ground, creating a resounding sound. The raptor lay still, accompanied by cries of pain. It struggled to lift itself up but could not, only whimpering sounds echoed. Finally, it opened its mouth wide and spat out a mouthful of blood, and then exhaled its last breath. Camilla was defeated like that, lying right next to Bright's cold corpse. Kai calmly turned around, his eyes flashing purple, and asked in a low voice, "Now, all that's left for us are the ordinary soldiers, right?" The final fierce battle had ended after Shinju and the others destroyed the demon army led by the high-ranking demon Brai, along with Camilla, the leader of the birdfolk tribe. The remaining birdfolk who initially surrounded them also changed their minds. The battle between the Midu group and the birdfolk soldiers also ended. They surrendered, dropping all their weapons. That was the outcome after they received the news of the death of the tribe leader. Everything returned to normal. When the high-ranking demon Bright died, the brainwashing effect on the dog tribe leader, Niels, disappeared. The chaotic scene from the previous battle was now a thing of the past. The events that took place in the capital of the Grandanas Federation had come to an end with the appearance of dawn. A meeting was arranged, a few days later, at the villa of the wolf tribe leader. "Edgar," Heinrich asked, "how is the bird tribe?" Edgar slowly explained what was investigated after the battle. Only those close to Camilla knew about her cooperation with the demons, to be precise, only including the army that had fought us. The rest of the bird tribe did not know about this. There's no reason to punish them. Midu on the opposite side asked, "So what about the army that fought us?" Edgar replied, "They were just following the orders of the chieftain, but we can't let the traitors of the country escape punishment. Perhaps punishing them with hard labor is enough." In another magnificent castle, at the mansion of the cat tribe chieftain, Kai leaned against the wall, his eyes cold, asking, "What about the dog tribe?" The four people sitting at the table all turned their attention to him after this question. Alto replied, "Of course, their chieftain will be punished, although not by his own will, but the fact that he betrayed the country is true." Sheena stretched her hand, casually adding, "From the beginning, being brainwashed by demons was Nielsima's fault. If he has to receive a heavy penalty, we can't do anything." Mare chuckled, joking, "Anyway, that's still not as bad as letting the princess get kidnapped by the demons." Beneath the thousands of blue waves, a magnificent and majestic palace stood out with sparkling lights at the mansion of the fish tribe chieftain. Graceful merfolk floated in the clear water of the large lake. A loud sound exclaimed, breaking the quiet space, "What?" All the chaos out there seemed to become invisible to the fish tribe, as evidenced by Max's surprised and completely clueless expression about the battle out there. He widened his eyes in disbelief at the amount of information he had just received. The dog tribe chieftain was brainwashed while we were asleep. Moreover, the bird tribe colluded with the demons and humans and defeated them. Rune, who was with Narumi, politely said to him, "I apologize, Maxima, I know you don't believe it, but this is the truth." For some reason, he suddenly gritted his teeth and called out in a low voice, "Hey, humans." Narumi was panicked by this sudden change in his attitude, so he quickly exclaimed, "What, we didn't lie." Max said nothing but leaned towards Narumi. He looked at this intimidating appearance and was horrified, shouting, "Wait." Surprisingly, he hugged him tightly and said with a grateful tone, "You are a good person." Narumi was stiffened by the hug. hearing him say that he was even more confused to the point where he could only utter a word, huh. He was moved, sniffling while continuing, "Thank you for protecting the Federation." Before leaving, with a stern expression, every word Max uttered was clear and decisive, "We will not forget this favor, I promise you that the fish tribe will cooperate with humans." That sudden favor from Max made Narumi uneasy. He anxiously said, "I'm glad you said that, but is it okay, you decided too easily?" Max didn't answer him but just clenched his fist, looking intimidating. "We will not forgive the demons, we will eliminate every single one of them." Narumi looked at Max's back as he left. After leaving a sentence like that, he sighed and said to Rune, "He really doesn't listen to others." Time just passed by slowly, without any significant incidents happening. A few days later, the chieftains of the tribes, along with a few people who were present in the previous battle, gathered in a magnificent room in the Grandana's Federation's Parliament building. Alto was as mature as an experienced leader. He stood up with a dignified appearance, and spoke in a warm and grateful tone, "Thank you for protecting the Federation in the recent events, this is a favor that we can hardly repay." Everyone nodded slightly to express their sincerity to him. At this moment, a man with high dog ears, covered with smooth fur, slightly perked up as if he was examining something. The man's hair was divided into two distinct sections, one side silver-white, the other black, creating an appearance that was both mysterious and wild. The chieftain of the dog tribe kneels, his sharp fangs, although small, peeked out when he spoke. "Besides, now we have experienced the threat from the demons ourselves, we were almost manipulated by them and fought each other. Even though we, the strong beast men, are strong in direct confrontations, we are weak against these kinds of tricks. I think we should cooperate with humans to compensate for each other's weaknesses." The faces of Midu and his teammates were all surprised by Niels's proposal. He whispered in a confused voice, "Basically." Suddenly, Alto jumped up like a spring, raised his hands high with enthusiasm as he solemnly announced with a voice that echoed throughout the room, "We agree to form an alliance. We, the Grandana's Beastmen Alliance, declare comprehensive cooperation with the Holy Kingdom of Diagrest." With Alto leading, the others also began to stand up in response, raising their hands to agree with the establishment of the alliance. Midu's group also happily stood up to celebrate with everyone. Ren smiled and jumped over, hugging Midu tightly, making him confused. Heinrich still sat calmly in his place, a faint smile on his lips. His sharp eyes glanced over Kai's motionless posture leaning against the wall. His face was without any emotion, as if completely separate from the lively atmosphere in the room. The meeting ended like that. Then the crowd on horseback poured out from the large gate of the magnificent castle. Midu turned his head and asked loudly, "Everyone, didn't forget anything, right?" Rina replied, "I didn't." Narumi sighed softly, "Well, it's a bit sad to have to leave." The chieftain stood right at the gate to bid farewell to Midu's group. Alto smiled and said, "You can come here any time you want, from now on we will often contact each other." Mare stood beside Kai from the castle wall looking at the backs of Midu's group and then said softly to Kai, "Everything is fine." She opened her big round eyes and asked Kai, "What are we doing now? It seems like everyone is returning to the Holy Nation." Kai relaxed himself, he leaned against the wall, half closing his eyes, and replied, "Currently, we have achieved our goal, now just wait and see." Sheena appeared from somewhere. She asked Kai, "Kai, are you planning to stay in the Federation?" Kai considered for a while and then tilted his head and replied, "I plan to stay here a little longer. Even if I return to the Holy Nation now, I will be labeled as a criminal. It's easier to breathe here." Hearing that, Exe smiled softly, and said sincerely, "I see, I'm very happy." Mare glanced sideways at the girl, her eyes mixed with a bit of mocking ridicule, thinking, "Happy, huh?" Sheena still innocently asked Kai, "Are you planning to continue your journey?" Kai opened his eyes slightly and replied, "My goal is to kill the Demon Lord and return to my world. When the time is ripe, I will go to the Demon Lord's place." Sheena offered to him, "Then I will join you on this journey." Mare blurted out in a panic, but Kai, on the other hand, suspiciously asked the girl what her purpose was. Sheena clarified her intentions to him when she made this offer, "I am the only daughter of the chief of the cat tribe, and I will also take the position of chief later. I want to hone my strength and achieve more before taking my father's place." Kai tried to make her understand, "From now on, the battles will become more and more intense. I'm sure you can achieve some success. I will be like a shadow, so you won't get any public recognition." Sheena confidently faced him, countering, "But you said you would defeat the Demon Lord. If I'm one of those involved in conquering the Demon Lord, that's also an achievement." Suddenly, a sound came from behind, and someone spoke up, "Please let the girl go with Shinjo." That was Alto's voice. He walked over to pat Exe's head and jokingly said, "You're afraid that the girl will slow you down because she is my daughter." Kai tried to make him understand how dangerous this was. "This will be a dangerous journey. what if she gets kidnapped again? Sheena replied strongly, if the war escalates, I'll be in danger wherever I go. First of all, I can't grow up if I'm always in a safe place. Alto stood with his arms crossed behind the girl, helping his daughter convince Kai, if Sheena has decided, I support her choice. In other words, even if the girl is treated like a hostage like in the recent incident, I don't care, Sheena said resolutely to Kai, me too, I want to go with you, Kai. Seeing that the girl was so determined, he didn't stop her anymore, and declared, so you've decided, I'll train you before we start the journey, if I find you useful, I'll take you along, right? Only Mare stood beside him, panicked by his decision. Sheena nodded in agreement. At the same time, in another distant place, a castle stood tall amidst a sea of scorching, swirling lava, the sky was swirling, and giant bolts of lightning constantly struck down with a crash, illuminating the desolate landscape, the demon kingdom of Veldora. A demon respectfully knelt on the floor, head bowed low, solemnly asking the person in front of him, what do you need, princess? The person the demon was addressing was the fifth princess of the demon kingdom, the supreme leader of the revolutionary army Isabel. She said in a low voice, convey the message to our brothers and sisters, our revolutionary moment is near. Meanwhile, Midu's group had ridden back to the place. Midu and the other envoys had convinced the Federation to accept the alliance. The road leading to the fortress was shrouded in a faint, silver haze that was hard to believe, making the fortress in the distance appear as a gigantic, indistinct structure. Half real and half illusion, the group slowly advanced and returned to the fortress operating at the front lines. They were accompanied by representatives of the Federation. Right at the large gate, different from the ancient patterns, Edgar was standing there waiting to greet them with the imposing appearance of a veteran warrior. My name is Edgar, I am the captain of the warrior team of the Beastmen Federation. It's a pleasure to meet everyone. The head of the Federation's representatives was a girl with short, yellow hair that hugged her face, with a composed look and a smile that exuded confidence as she introduced herself. I am Amelia, the captain of the 4th Night Legion of the Holy Nation, the person in charge on the front lines. It's a pleasure to meet you. Under the witness of many members from both sides, the two leaders, Edgar and Amelia, solemnly shook hands, a handshake that gave birth to the era of alliance between the Bangs. Immediately, cheers of joy erupted, echoing throughout the space. Although the hero candidates played an extremely important role in the negotiations, they still did not realize how great an impact the alliance between the Holy Kingdom of Diagrest and the Grandana's Beastmen Federation would have. Midu sighed softly, feeling his breath returning easily after so many stressful days, and slowly blended into the crowd that was applauding, feeling as if all the burdens had disappeared. Midu fell asleep on the large bed, sinking into a deep sleep. But then an indescribable feeling suddenly came over him, making him start awake. His blue eyes slowly opened. Midu sat up abruptly, one hand unconsciously rubbing his temples, mumbling, why did I wake up at such a strange time? Mireille, who had been sitting to the side like a silent ghost from earlier, suddenly spoke in a gentle tone, anyway, you've been sleeping since the afternoon, haven't you? It's probably because you had a long and tiring journey. Midu jumped when he saw her right in front of his bed, and exclaimed in a panic, Mireille, why are you still in my room? Mireille calmly explained to him, you fell asleep in the rest room, I used my ability to bring you back to your room. Midu looked embarrassed and apologized, I see, I'm sorry for causing you trouble. Mireille smiled and shook her head, it's okay, because you're back safely, so everything went well, right? He didn't answer and instead asked her a question, how is the situation on the front lines? Mireille replied in a flat tone, the Demon Lord's army has launched many attacks, but they haven't caused much damage. She hesitated for a moment and then added, her expression a bit complex as she thought of Arashi's frantic appearance on the battlefield. I really don't want to admit it, but it's all thanks to Arashir, he's very strong. Midu squinted and smiled softly, satisfied, I see, it's good that we can rely on him. Then he asked about another person, and Edgar-san. Mireille immediately replied, he's resting today after a long journey. Outside, the night enveloped the entire space like a giant black blanket, only the light from the high moon shone weak silver rays into Midu's room through the window. He heard Mireille softly say, it seems they're holding a meeting tomorrow to discuss a plan. She suddenly asked curiously, how strong are the Federation warriors? His expression became serious, and he thought of the wolf tribe leader and the sword he always carried with him, and replied, they're strong, especially their captain, Edgar-san, he's even stronger than me. Mireille was surprised by his words, and bluntly asked again to confirm, stronger than you. He nodded and replied, yes, all the remaining soldiers belong to an elite army, we can trust them. He told Mireille his plans, with such a force, we can cross the forest, then infiltrate the territory of the Demon Kingdom and kill the Demon Lord in a heartbeat. Mireille asked him anxiously, I know it's a bit late to ask this, but aren't you afraid? Her hands were on her lap, constantly fidgeting with worry. Mireille continued in a low voice, "From now on, there will be many battles, it will be much more dangerous than it is now, maybe one of us will die." Thoughtfulness enveloped his eyes, and he replied truthfully, "I am afraid, of course." Midu thought of the people he cherished. He knew there was no other way, but if I stop here, our group will be divided again. Once that happens, there will definitely be casualties, and Shinjo-kun always encourages me. Mireille was a little skeptical and asked again, her eyes darting around as if searching for the truth, "Is Shinjo-kun really such a person?" Midu thought of Kai's always cold face, like a block of ice, and spoke his true thoughts. "Shinjo considers us allies. Although he doesn't act on emotions, it doesn't change the fact that he always helps us." Mireille still maintained her dislike for Kai, turning her head stubbornly like a child, replying, "No matter the outcome, I hate selfish people." Midu smiled resignedly, sighing, said, "You're right, Mireille, I envy those two, Shinjo-kun and Erasure." Hearing this, Mireille glanced over, asking with confusion, "You envy them, you're better than them," Midu replied. He thought about the times Kai and Erasure acted decisively, then slowly replied, "They are not easily influenced by the environment and always move forward without hesitation, that's a quality I always envy." He silently looked out the window, his face showing clear self-doubt and disgust for his own weak personality, and softly continued, "During that time, I only wanted to keep everything as it was." Mireille hesitated, leaning towards the bed and asking him, "Can I ask you this question?" She put her hands on her hips as if trying to find an explanation for this illogical action, asking him, "Why don't you want to go home?" At this moment, an evenly matched duel was taking place in the large courtyard. Erasure exclaimed in amazement at the opponent's appearing and disappearing movements, making him marvel inwardly, so fast. Before he could calm down, he saw Edgar rushing in again like a storm with a sharp sword towards him. Golden spirit like holy fire erupted from Edgar's eyes when facing Erasure, his voice hoarse and full of power as he whispered, "This is the finishing blow." Erasure raised his gloved hand, seemingly intending to concentrate his spirit to fight back, while shouting, "You underestimate me, you dog." But he was a step slower than Edgar. The sharp sword had already reached his hand, disrupting the process of concentrating his spirit, but the sword was like hitting cotton, causing no harm whatsoever. Edgar exclaimed in amazement, "What?" Edgar clearly saw Erasure using his own arm as a shield. When he blocked the sword, his mind reeled with surprise. He was using magic to strengthen his arm. No matter how much he strengthened his arm, he couldn't block a sword with his bare hand. Continuing with Mireille's question, Midu still sat quietly on the large bed, a sense of bewilderment evident on his face as he faced the question. He fell into a prolonged silence, his eyes deliberately avoiding Mireille's attentive gaze, who was patiently waiting for an answer. Midu uneasily pulled up the blanket and then chuckled, replying, "Because everyone wants to go home." Mireille saw that he was just making up an excuse. She excitedly pointed her finger and raised her voice, "Midu-kun." Suddenly, the door to his room opened. Rina entered like the wind and called, "Shuji, are you awake?" The words were not finished because Rina was surprised at the sight of Mireille's presence. Her face suddenly flushed red. She asked in a panic, "What are you two doing?" Both Midu and Mireille were flustered. Mireille quickly denied, "We didn't do anything, just talking, right?" Midu immediately nodded and replied, "Yeah, that's right." Rina angrily shouted, "A lie, sneaking into a son's room in the middle of the night, and you still dare to say that." On the other side, the duel between Erasure and Edgar continued. Erasure decisively bent his arm blocking the sword, pushing the sword away. That strong force caused Edgar to be pushed far away, leaving a long streak on the ground due to friction. He lightly moved his wrist and then clicked his tongue, grumbling that it hurt. Suddenly, someone's voice rang out, saying both to stop. "You two stop practicing." Amelia entered, announcing, "It's time to start the strategy meeting." Erasure sighed with a little regret, "What, just when things were getting interesting." Edgar said nothing, just quietly put the sword back into its sheath. He chuckled in agreement with Erasure, "I agree, but we can fight again on another occasion. I'm glad you're my ally." Back in Midu's room, Mireille nervously tried to explain to Rina, "But I brought Midu-kun to his room when he was sleeping." Rina, angry, her face flushed red, said loudly, "You always talk about rules and morality, yet you broke the rules first." Mireille, seeing her being harsh, also got angry. She pointed her finger and retorted, "Stop those improper words, you are violating ethical standards." Rina sneered sarcastically, "You speak so well." Midu could only silently watch the two girls arguing with each other and couldn't do anything. Then, for some reason, he chuckled at this sight. Outside, a duel was taking place on the training platform between Erasure and Edgar, still with the familiar sword in hand and the strength. From their own fists, the two faced each other and were ready to fight at any moment. This time, Arashir took the initiative to start. He rushed quickly to powerfully swung a straight punch towards Edgar. His eyes suddenly became cold and sharp. Arashir skillfully turned his body to gain momentum. Then he raised his leg to kick. Edgar quickly ducked his head to avoid it. On the other hand, also holding a sword to charge in. The sharp tip of the sword was pointed straight at Arashi's forehead, causing him to stiffen. As soon as he came to his senses, Arashir jumped back, retreating. Contrary to his hot temper, he smirked at this moment, feeling satisfied to have met a worthy opponent, so it's only fitting that I make a move, isn't it?